Well, I don't know about your town, but in my town, you drive around the industrial areas and you're probably going to run into a pile of pallets somewhere with a sign that says free. And that's got me thinking. I was $1,800 over the lumber budget for the power shed and the bunky and a couple other things. And you know, I consider myself lucky because if I were making that purchase today, it'd be $3,000 over budget. So I've got to find a way to claw that back somehow. So pallets, yeah, there's a pile of pallets right there. Anyway, pallets they've got hardwood stringers on them, 2x4s holding them together. We, at my business, we throw them out. We pay $135 a metric ton to dispose of them. And, you know, there's a lot that we've got, so it might actually be worth me putting in a couple hours to tear a few apart. We don't yet know what we're going to do for our floor in the bunky. We've got about 150 square feet to cover, and hey man, thinking possibly pallet stringers. So I'm going to tear a few apart and find out how quick it is. I got myself a pallet breaker tool, and that should help us tear it apart, and we'll kind of compare the amount of time it takes to do versus what the cost of the wood would end up being. So yeah, so look at this, you know, just pulling into some, check this out, look at this wood, people just throwing it out, it's crazy. And you know, there really is no shame in it. Yeah, okay, feel a little like Bubbles repairing carts or something, but you know, it ends up saving me money, getting me back on budget. It'll be all worth it. I mean, this is a common brand that comes into our warehouse, and these are 54-inch 2x4s, hardwood tops, and I'm gonna peel those off. Recommend one of these tools. It's called a pallet breaker. It's a little heavy, but you've got the leverage to pop the stringers out pretty quick and easy, painless. Bound to get bits like that, which are just so brittle they bust along the wood seams, the grain there. So is this something that is usable? Not likely, but so all in all, busted pallet, a couple of minutes. Gonna be a little more time to remove the nails from the 2x4s and of course pull them out of it. Definitely takes a little elbow grease, but it isn't difficult. This is the sort of lumber we can get out of skids. varying widths and lengths. Obviously it'll have to be put through a planer if it's going to become flooring. Maybe we can come up with a unique design for the floor. Obviously it's going to have some holes in it, unless of course we cut either side and make the flooring planks even shorter. And that's the, you know, an example of the hardwood that's available on these things that we normally pay $135 a metric ton to dispose of. So it's a bit of a win-win. You know, we're diverting from landfill and you know, reusing. Yeah, look at the lovely wood grain. It actually, I think this is oak. So that last nail just hit me in the glasses. Proof why when doing something like this you should always be wearing eye protection and gloves for that matter. Lots of sharp edges on the nails and splinters. So in a few short minutes, 6 of these guys, 54 inches long, 2x4s. You know, it's probably considered choice lumber. It's got some live edge on it. It's got a twist to it. Doesn't look too good, but so what? I'm not going to waste an 8-foot long piece of 2x4 that I paid dearly for say window framing and other bracing for electrical or what have you. Makes a lot of sense just to use this. It's free. So getting rid of bits like this, with the cracks and the holes in them, leaving me with bits like this. Since it's hardwood, I'll be able to burn all the cutoffs in the wood stove. So there's a separation process, the wheat from the chaff. You know, if we've got cracks all the way along the length of the board, it's going to be no good. It'll go straight to the burn pile. Just a little tip for those of you that may be doing the same thing: do not cut right on the holes. There's little wires that hold the nail strips together in a framing nailer gun, and those often remain. Not sure if that's seeable, but won't do much for your blade. I'm going to head to my cousin's place. He's got some specialty tools, jointer planer, thickness planer, that sort of thing, and we'll fix up some of these boards and see whether they would make good flooring. So in order to get proper samples here, and get thicknesses that are uniform, we need a jointer and we need a planer. So that's what we're going to get done now. Get some of this done. Joint it for the true flatness of the piece, and then run it through the planer, which should make it parallel on the other side. Try that.
all perfect.
Should all be the same thickness.
They will be, right? Because you just ran them through the planer at the same exact setting.
That's right.
Now you'd have to decide if this is sufficiently plain for you, because you technically need to go down another.
Oh, that's true.
30 seconds, or you can say, you know what, for my artistic purposes of my flooring,
we'll call it character.
that is what I want, right? So it's up to you at this point. But otherwise, those are all going to be matching.
Well, yeah, I like that it's not going into a. Oh, look at that.
Well, this is
That's where we have to run it through a.
So that's where you have
table
to.
saw and perfect.
Yeah, you'd have to have done one edge good here.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to run it through a table saw.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like, you know, then it'll match.
Love it. This is the finished product of the experiment. So I cut them uniformly as flooring. The widths would all have to be the same, at least in the same strip if we're installing it that way. Could go into a pattern of some sort, not really sure. But we have a beautiful piece of maple, oak, a couple pieces of what I think is cherry, and an unknown hardwood of some sort. But it's amazing that there's such a variety of hardwoods on these pallets. It's just gorgeous stuff. So there's a number of imperfections as well, as you can see. Would have had to plane it deeper. I elected for 3/8. It's a nice round fraction, and you know, upon installation, that sort of thing would just simply be character. I like the idea of it. The wild card is how to install something like this. I really haven't put much thought into it. Maybe this is where the internet will come in handy. I imagine gluing it to the floor, some sort of adhesive, might make it very difficult to keep the thickness exact. You know, you put a little too much on one board and not enough on the next. We're gonna have to sand her down, but maybe that is the way to go. Another possibility would be to cut on the table saw on a 45-degree angle, so that on the very next board I could fit small finishing nails and toe them in. That might be pretty time consuming. Now, if all of the boards were this size, these are 3 by 13 inches, I would need 710 to cover a floor space that is 12 by 16. So I'll have to probably keep a few of the boards considerably larger if that's the way I'm going. But plugging through here, got some nail removal going on, but it's amazing that from this we get this. It's just gorgeous stuff. I'll definitely find a use for that. So ultimately, the wood is free because it's pallets and they'd be disposed of anyway, but a fairly tremendous amount of labor has to go in to making this happen. Now, if you have a kid around and put them to work, that helps you too. But overall, between tearing the pallets apart, removing the nails, cutting the whole parts off and tossing them away for the burn pile, and then putting each piece through the jointer to make it a true flat surface, and then through the thickness planer to get it to exactly the same thickness as all the others, is an awful lot of work. So in terms of whether it's worth it or not, jury's kind of out on that. But if I have the time to do it, you know, between work and on a beautiful day like this, nice to be outside, I'll definitely do it.